CHGO Bulls coming at you all. What up? Big Dave is here. Guess what? Matt Peck is going to join us, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? Tim Cato is going to join us, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking Matas Buzelis. Is this his time? Has he arrived? Plus, our brand new plus minus segment. We'll get into that. And rotations. We have thoughts. Goats has more thoughts and questions about it. We're going to get all into it right after Sean Anderson says slap. Welcome in, all you beautiful people. Thank y'all for stopping by. Thank y'all for saying, hey, I want more Bulls talk. Well, we got it here for you on CHGO Bulls. We are presented by Michelob Ultra and Bet365. The delicious taste of victory deserves something equally superior. Cheer on your team with Michelob Ultra and download the Bet365 app. Use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. What up, y'all? Hello, how you doing? Big Dave is here. Hi. That man over there is Will the Go Gottlieb. You can follow him at Will_Gottlieb.
Where can they follow you, Dave?
Bow! Sports is where you can follow me, BAWL Sports. That man on the ones and twos is the one, the only Sean Anderson. And as promised, via the GOAT Talk hotline presented by Michelob Ultra, thank you for loaning that out, Will the Go Gottlieb, is the man, the myth, the legend, coming off of a well-deserved Goon of the Night award for his Michael Jordan flu game performance. Our man, Matt Peck, is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey,
what's
guys.
up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm honored to be on the Go Talk hotline. Am I even qualified? Do I need to take the hat off and let the quaff flow a little bit? How does this work? I've never.
You just need to. You need to get rid of that goatee and go to the mustache. that will solve all your problems.
I think I saw somebody in the comments last night say this, and I think they're onto something. I don't usually rock a goatee for more than a couple of days as I transition from beard to stash. But the Bulls won last night with me rocking a goatee. So I think until the Bulls lose, the goatee stays.
Well,
fair enough.
That's very fair, man. And I like seeing the goatee, Matt. We love the stash. Goatee is a very solid number 2. Just let you know that right now, sir. But yes, you mentioned the Bulls winning.
It's the chin quaff.
Chin quaff. Ooh. Well, we're going to have to check with GOAT and see if that's doable.
I will allow it.
He's allowing it. It's a thing. Chin quaff is in the building. Bulls won 115-111. They beat the Detroit Pistons in that opening game. It was a really fun opening game. It felt like that atmosphere was awesome. Shout out to Will Perdue for also being here last night. Before I even talked about that, GOAT, you were there. Can you talk about just that experience, that awesomeness, and what it felt like on opening night?
Just generally speaking about the vibe of the game. Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
sir.
You know, one thing about Bulls fans, like I know there is sort of part of this sentiment about like, you know, pressuring the team by showing up or not. Like one thing about Bulls fans is that they are always there. The atmosphere is always electric. They did like the full introduction where they, you know, announced all the players from Trenton Flowers to Matas and Giddey. And just like the building, the vibes were there. And I think people are excited about like what this team can do. Certainly Matas and the attention that he's got has been really exciting. Like the cheers around him were, you know, very palpable. So I think there is a lot of excitement around this team. And they got off to a great start. My question is, can they sustain it? And what happens if they don't in terms of like the fan excitement?
Yeah, great question. And I'm glad you mentioned that name, sir, Matas Buzelis, because just like those fans were definitely hyped about him, myself and Matt Peck absolutely hyped about Matas Buzelis. Matt is more so through the roof on young Matas Buzelis.
He's in so much pain he can't come in.
That's right. 33 minutes, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and my favorite, 3 blocks from Matas Buzelis. I was very excited about that. 7 of 12 from the field, 0 of 3 from the three-point line, but 7 of 7 from the free throw line. So a lot of people hype, a lot of people excited about all these things. Matt, I'll ask you first, what did this tell you about Matas Buzelis and his future here with the Bulls?
I don't know if it necessarily told me anything more than what I already believed. Obviously, everybody takes preseason results, whether it be an individual player or the team, with a grain of salt, and a large one at that. But the proof was in the pudding before 5 preseason meaningless games, because we saw what he did after the All-Star break last year when he worked his way into Billy Donovan's starting lineup and produced the way he did. And he was producing in a lot of games in which Kobe White was also doing Kobe White things, and Josh Giddey was doing his thing, and Vooch was doing his thing. It's like, I think there's room in this Bulls offense for Matas to be as good as he was last year and in these preseason games and better. And you mentioned his minutes played, Big Dave. I was harping on that last season, and I will give Billy Donovan credit. The bring him along slowly plan apparently worked and is working and hopefully will continue to work. But now Matas is a 35 minutes a night guy. And shout out to the other GOAT. The ceiling is the roof through this pair of eyes right now for Matas.
Wow. Did you just other GOAT Michael Jordan so you could reference me as the GOAT, the one true GOAT?
I'm on the GOAT Talk hotline right now. GOAT.
Correct.
Come on now.
And don't you
Presented
forget
by
it.
Michelob Ultra.
For me, I think the bringing along slowly stuff is interesting because it's like they've been bringing along Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry
Yes,
slowly for
correct.
3 years.
Yeah.
So I do think that you have to credit the player, and like Billy's always been the first to recognize that. But one of the things that was interesting for me was last night Billy's commentary pregame about Matas and how he basically said like he has not arrived yet. He just hasn't. And I wrote about it after the game, like, well, maybe it's because he didn't see what happened in the game that was about to happen, the opener when he scored 21. But I think that he's absolutely right to handle Matas the way that he has. And I think Matas is really taking that to heart and leaning into it because he knows. And I was talking to him. So we talked with Billy pregame. He kind of went on this whole thing. I encourage you guys to go read my story about it. I really kind of broke down exactly what he was saying. But then I went to go talk to Matas about it. And it's just incredible to hear somebody who is 21 years old, who just turned 21, have both this incredible amount of confidence in himself and his abilities long-term, but also this incredible level of like, I know how to stay present. I know that like, yes, I want to be great. And yes, I want the Bulls to be great, but like, this is where I am right now. And these are the steps that I need to get to before I can reach that point. So the mentality I think is really impressive to me. And that was Billy's whole point with that commentary of just like, he needs to remain driven. He needs to remain engaged in the work and not feel like he's made it because there's some hype about him in the national media. Like he hasn't done anything yet except for score 21 in one game this year. So he needs to keep working. He needs to keep doing everything that he needs to do in order to reach that point. But I do think that there is sort of a shared appreciation for that and what it's going to take for him to be great from both Billy and Matas, which I think is a really good sign of just like laying the groundwork for him to eventually and hopefully meet that potential.
Let me read that quote from Billy Donovan. And, Matt, I want to get your opinion on this, man. But you just mentioned Billy Donovan talking about Matas Buzelis and had he arrived. He says, I think everybody in the room can see he's gifted and he's very, very talented. No one's going to take that away from him. But at this level, it's not about his points or his numbers. It's, to me, about how does he impact winning. He goes on to say, so can he be a facilitator? Can he make passes? Can he generate shots for other people? Can he be a guy that really gets on the glass and a guy that is hard to block out? These are all challenges, I think, that have been put in front of him at this point in time that he's kind of leaned into and has tried to get better at. And you can also read that full quote that Billy Donovan saying from my man Will the Goat Gottlieb and his recap of the game on allchgo.com. Matt, your thoughts on that, hearing that from Billy Donovan, just trying to quell those things down, and he's talking directly to you, Matt Peck. Calm it down. How do you feel about it, sir?
Well, I it's a fair question, but Dave, honestly, the answer, my answer, goes right into our new plus or minus segment. So do you want to tee that up before I give you my answer?
Man, handling things from behind the scenes. Look at that, man. Well, we can do it now. Yeah, let's go into Matt Peck's. We're doing our new segment called Plus Minus, where we give one positive thing we saw from the last night Bulls game and one negative thing that we saw from last night's Bulls game. And Matt Peck's is starting with Billy Donovan's coaching Matas Buzelis. Please explain, Matt Peck.
I mean, you just read one of several great quotes that Billy had around last night's Bulls victory over the Pistons regarding his second-year budding star, Matas Buzelis. And I was impatient last year, rookie year for Matas, I admit it, especially on nights where I thought he played well and earned more minutes and didn't get them. But I love to hear Billy talking about the little things, the nitty-gritty details that he harped on Matas last year. And he even referenced like yanking Matas off the floor after a quick mistake, and he had been only on the floor for 45 seconds or however long, and saying, yeah, the flashy dunks, him finishing plays where his teammates set him up are all great. And, we know he can do that, but can he generate good shots for his teammates? Can he facilitate for himself and for others? How much harder can he work crashing the boards? How much harder can he work boxing out, not just blocking shots, but in addition to that, boxing out and working the glass more? Billy Donovan harping on the little stuff while also simultaneously reminding Matas through telling the media, hey, you've gotten a great work ethic that's gotten you to this point where a lot of eyes are turning to look at you and see what you're going to do next. You can't rest on those laurels right now. So work on the little stuff and keep thinking you haven't arrived, because guess what, young buck? You haven't yet. Everybody's really excited. Everybody sees the potential, but you haven't done jack squat yet. So keep working. And I love to hear that kind of coach speak from Billy Donovan towards a young player who I believe is going to make or break the Bulls' next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. And just to add to that, Billy again was talking about, in particular, around the 2 dunks that he had in the fourth quarter after the game. And he was kind of saying, like, look, those were great plays. You saw his athleticism on display, but like he cut from the baseline and caught a pass from Trey Jones or caught a pass from Isaac Okoro, 2 guys that broke down the defense in order to create that advantage in the first place. Great cuts, not taking anything away from Matas there, but like that athleticism is stuff that he had in high school. What are the things that he's doing at the NBA level if the dunks aren't available to him? Like the blocking out. Matas was saying that he's never heard Billy yell at him louder than last night because he missed a block out. Can he slide over and defend the rim at the right time? Can he get over screens and try to deter that dribble penetration before it happens? Like, there's so many things that happen throughout the course of a game that are not just like highlight reel blocks or dunks, that are not catch and shoot threes, that he needs to do on a consistent basis. And I think, to your point, Matt, Billy held him accountable to those things very early last year. A lot of stuff that I'm not, capable of witnessing in real time when I'm watching a game, but Billy obviously is. And so he's willing to yank Matas out of the lineup if he's not doing that, because those are the things that are going to turn him into a great player, not just a highlight reel machine, which is great, but that's not going to lead the Bulls to winning at a high level, which is what they're trying to get to.
It's true. I have so much stuff to say about Matas, but I want to get to Matt's negative before we have to go to break. I can get into my Matas stuff in the next block, but let's put that back up there, Sean, please. Matt's up. And in the minus section, we've got fast break points. Matt Peck was not pleased with that. Sir, please expound.
I mean, the Bulls are a team that wants to play fast offensively this season, and they got outscored in fast break points by the Pistons, I believe 19-7 last night. I'm not, overly worried about the results of one game, and credit to the Bulls. They found other ways to outscore Detroit last night. Shout out to their frequency and efficiency at the free throw line. I think that was the biggest thing that tipped the scales in the Bulls' favor last night. And, drawing some of those fouls in transition to get to the free throw line. The Bulls were also in the bonus early, I believe, in at least 2 of the 4 quarters last night. They also put the Pistons in early as well. But, for a team that's going to preach on, we want to be one of the fastest offensive playing teams in the NBA, and you get outscored by double digits and fast break points in game 1, that, I don't love that. I'd like to see that, change in the other direction when they play Orlando on Saturday. So, it's a nitpick in a game that they won, and credit to them for finding different ways to win. But especially talking about all the highlight reel dunks Matas had, it's like, they all came on really good off-ball cuts from half-court sets. It wasn't any fast break stuff. So, let's be entertained by our quote-unquote only the Bulls setting the court on fire in the fast break. I want more fast break points.
Here with us on Saturday when they take on the Orlando Magic. Matt, any final thoughts before we get out?
Just I'm looking forward to hearing what other intel and dirt Tim Cato has to say about this crazy NBA news that broke earlier this morning. I'm glad that none of us are currently incarcerated. Way to go, everybody. Gamble responsibly, gamble legally. Shout out Bet365. Get your bets in for Thursday Night Football tonight. And, keep it locked right here to be joined by our All City National NBA reporter, Tim Cato, in a little bit.
That's our guy, Matt Peck, via the Go Talk Hotline, presented by Michelob Ultra. We'll be back giving more plus minuses with you guys. Coming at you after that. We gonna he says keep talking, which is something I can definitely do. So, it's my thing. It's my jail. He says, we said we're going. Let's get the man's going. Matt, thanks for joining us, man.
Peace.
Being good is fine. It's nice. Being great, that's a thing.
That's
People
better.
like that. That's a little better. But only the rare and the awesome get to be ultra. And that's what you want. Well, how do I get to be ultra, Big Dave? I can tell you how. Michelob Ultra, ladies and gentlemen. That delicious tasting light beer, once it hits your lips, it is euphoric. It's amazing stuff. The delicious taste of victory deserves something equally superior. Cheer on your team with Michelob Ultra. What else makes it ultra, Big Dave? So glad you asked me. 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. That's what? That superior smooth taste that is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra is the official American beer sponsor of your Chicago Bulls. So grab a Michelob Ultra superior light beer as you cheer them on. Because no matter what you're playing for, make it superior with Michelob Ultra. Make it ultra magnetic.
Big Dave, let's get real for a second, all right?
Let's do that.
The world has gone soft.
That's what I
Everyone's
heard.
getting a trophy just for showing up. Everything needs to be bubble wrapped. We're in the load management era. Soda used to have some kick.
Smack in the face.
We're talking about being punched in the thirst.
That's what I want.
But now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz, but not with our friends at RC Cola. RC Cola is not a soft drink, just damn good cola. It's the original cola that doesn't fold under pressure. RC is the OG cola in the world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no Uzis, and certainly no Wazzies.
What I heard.
RC hasn't changed its stripes since 1905. Why? Because it doesn't need to. It's got the same bold, crisp flavor it always has. RC Cola tastes like a punch in the thirst.
Ooh.
Do yourself a favor, grab some RC from your local store, stock up for all your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, or if you're just watching the Bulls. So RC Cola, move on for whatever you're doing.
Welcome back, CHGO Bulls. Will the Go Gottlieb, Big Dave,
Bam.
Sean Anderson on production. We were just joined by our guy, Matt Peck. He gave his plus minus. It is time to get the GOATs plus minus. Sir, the floor is yours. Let's see what you got on
Let's
the plus
see what
side.
we got.
Bulls.
Big Sean, show me Bulls defense for the plus. Look, this was something that I was a little skeptical about.
Okay.
We're talking a lot about physicality and improving things on that end without really making that many additions to the personnel that can really help you. And not to dismiss Isaac Okoro, I think he did a really good job last night, but only one man can only do so much to improve a defense. So I was very impressed with the way they defended. Part of this was that the Pistons offense, I think, was really like dragging its feet in the mud. But you have to credit the Bulls defense, 106.7 defensive rating so far through just one game. Obviously, incredibly small sample size. That really probably doesn't mean anything at this point. But third in the NBA. So is that something that you can build on, can replicate, can play to throughout the course of a season? We'll see. They allowed the second fewest opponent 3-point attempts as a per 100 possession basis. The one downside is that they were last in opponent rim rate. So teams were getting, the Pistons got a ton of shots at the rim against them, basically. But they were +5 in defensive rebounds. They had 8 blocks and 5 steals, and they were not fouling. They were playing with physicality without fouling. They were +6 at the free throw line. So I was very impressed with the way they played. Like I said, who knows if they'll be able to keep that up. The Pistons did not shoot well from outside, but they were able to get to the rim, and the Bulls still were able to hold them to a very low defensive rating. So if that can become a part of their system, and credit to Billy Donovan here, who has repeatedly and consistently gotten more than the sum of his parts out of every single group that he's coached with the Bulls. If they're able to play at like a 15th or better type of rate, they could actually be a pretty good team this year. So I was very pleased with the way they defended last night, and I think Billy probably was too. Obviously, things you can always improve on and clean up, but sure. I think you have to be happy with that. And should I go into my minus, or do you want to do your plus first?
No, we can go right into your minus.
All right, Bulls plus minus. My minus is the 3-point shooting. Offensive team, shooting a lot of threes, being a fast-paced, like Matt's point, the fast break stuff, they're getting up the floor quickly, but they're not generating a ton of like technical fast break points. A lot of it was like semi-transition or like get one look, get shut down, and then get into the second look.
Okay.
But the 3-point shooting is something that like I'm a little bit concerned about. Last night they took only 33s. That's pretty low. I mean, that's like slightly more than what they were taking during the DeRozan era. The 15th highest number of threes last night or so far in the season was 36. So they're like 6 attempts lower than average, basically, on a per game basis. And aside from Vooch, who was 4 of 6, they only shot 7 of 24. The starters combined for only 12, and that includes Vooch's 6. So one of those was a heave at like a shot clock buzzer by Giddey. That was an air ball. Okoro did not attempt a single three. Like, they're going to need to get up a higher volume. I do not think that this is a situation of like get up threes for the sake of getting up threes. That's not really in any of these guys' DNA, because there's not a lot of like really elite shooters out there. Obviously, Kobe's injured right now, and Herter coming off the bench shot it well. But I think the main thing is for them to like continue to get to the rim and generate, shots at the rim, fouls, and then, the third on that list is like getting those kickouts. They were very good at getting downhill. 43% of their shots came at the rim, which is fantastic. But they do need to be a better floor spacing team. They're trying to like do a lot more back cutting in order to help juice the floor spacing. But that's a thing that over the course of a season, I'm going to be monitoring, because especially when you get bogged down in the half court, they have to have guys that can space out the floor so they're not getting jammed up in half court setting.
No, I completely agree with both of those right there. Makes all the sense in the world. Let's get to my plus minus that I had. My plus was Trey Salve Jones. You know that.
You love a good salve.
Oh, who doesn't love a good salve? When DeMar DeRozan was here, that was my nickname for DeMar DeRozan, was Salve. Because anytime anything was going wrong for the Bulls scoring-wise, or they couldn't get a bucket, or the team was on a run, or they just needed something to slow things down, it was DeMar DeRozan, whether he was hitting the bucket or he was drawing the foul to get to the free throw line to stop the team from constantly running and being in transition and slow it down. It was definitely DeMar DeRozan. And yesterday, from what I saw from Trey Jones, was exactly that. The best example of it was that third quarter when Detroit came out. And as all good teams do in the third quarter, they try to come out and run, get back into the game. They immediately went on an 8-0 run coming right out the gate. The next thing that happened, Trey Jones three-pointer, turnover, Trey Jones goes and he scores. He goes on a 5-0 run by himself, and then he was instrumental in getting the ball to a guy like Vooch, who hit a three, and the Bulls went on their own 8-0 run and went up 17. And that, for me, was just great to see. I think Billy Donovan truly loves this man as much as I do, because he takes away, again, great point guards and move thinking, but he also is a guy that is thinking for Billy Donovan when he's on the floor. So when you see him on the floor with Josh Giddey, you see Josh Giddey doing a lot more off-ball stuff, especially when they're running that half court, because that's one of their Achilles heels, is that half-court offense. So having Trey Jones be there, being able to set things up where everybody gets to touch the basketball, knowing where everybody needs to be, but also providing steals on the defensive end. He had 3 steals in that game also, and did it in 32 minutes, 12 points, 8 assists, and the 3 steals, and he was a +6 in those 32 minutes. That's just a great thing to have when Billy is concerned about, runs and concerned about the team getting into that half court. Having a guy like Trey Jones that can calm everyone down and calm everything down on both sides of the basketball is just a beautiful thing. The negative for me was...
Can I just hit on Trey real quick before we move on? Because to me, he was incredibly impressive. Just like he's 6'1", and the finishing over like Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Green is insane. He's so crafty. He's so quick. And he just plays with like, he's so low to the ground. He has leverage where he can just get around guys. But I think like the help defense, like Billy was talking pregame about how Ayo's really good on the ball, but he needs to improve as an off-ball defender. Yeah. And I think Trey's one of the few guys on the team who's like actually a plus in both of those different areas.
That's true.
There's so much that goes into evaluating defense, and a lot of it is just like stuff that's going to be over my head forever because I'm not, a former player. I'm not, a professional coach in this league.
But you are a doctor.
But Billy Donovan, just like the way he talks about Trey and the way that he defends, the way that he gets after it on the ball, the way that he's able to like make plays a step ahead away from the ball, he really is just like one of the Billy Donovan favorites of like the whole era that we've been covering this team. Like
there's no question about it, man, and rightfully so. So we knew when Kobe was going to go out and he wasn't going to be there, we knew Trey Jones was going to be that next one in line no matter what. You knew Trey Jones was going to be next in line, man. He's been incredibly impressive for the Bulls. But speaking of Kobe White, that was my negative for the Bulls, was no guy in that fourth quarter. That's, again, is where you saw Detroit really kind of make their run early in that fourth quarter. And shout out to Ron Holland, who had a great game for Detroit,
he's fun to watch.
Like, he was fun to watch on both sides. But I thought that lack of that is why Detroit really, truly got back into that game, because that's when you saw Billy start tinkering with different kind of lineups in that fourth quarter, and it was early when he started doing it. Like, it was the lineup, I'm trying to think, it was Giddey and Matas and Ayo and Dalen Terry and Jalen Smith. Well, immediately when they started being a little more physical and going at it, he got Giddey out the game and was trying to get Trey Jones back in so he can play with Ayo. Like, he really was trying to tinker and find that right combination, but to let Vooch get some rest because Vooch was having an incredible game. I feel like that's what it's going to be until Kobe White comes back, is they're going to have to be, the guy by committee. Like, whoever is going to have the hot hand, cool, but you're still going to have to go with who is open and who can hit the open shot at that point in time. So that comfort level isn't there for the Bulls yet with having Kobe White on the floor, with anybody being the guy. I would like it to be Matas, of course. You would like Matas to be that guy. You would like him to be the one that takes over. But you saw Billy have him in early, and then you saw him have him in a little later. So he was like, I'm going to see if you can be that guy or not. But we'll figure it out. We'll find some time for it.
But, Eco Bean makes the point that I make a lot too, which is he just plays mistake-free basketball. And you mentioned Matas like taking over late. The reason why is because Trey Jones broke down the defense and got into the paint and was able to generate really good looks. Obviously, the one was the lob to Matas on the back cut, and the other one was, him breaking down the defense, kicking it out to Patrick, swing to the corner to Okoro, and that's what led to the big dunk on Isaiah Stewart. But it's just like he gets into the paint, he collapses the defense, and he makes the right play. And having that consistently without any mistakes is so valuable to a team, especially when they are throwing their better defenders on Josh Giddey, to have that secondary ball handling out there to make the right play. That's why they did it. And Vooch was key in that as well. They had a really good two-man game going. Vooch was hitting his little flip shot. He was hitting threes. And they were just like plugging away in those final minutes after the Pistons had come back to tie it. So I was very impressed with Trey, with Vooch, and just the whole way that they closed out that game with the resilience of having to deal with a 23-point comeback, tied at 105, trading baskets for a little bit, and then obviously closing it out.
Completely agree. Incredibly resilient in what they did, man. But not having that guy, that's going to be a thing for a little bit of while. But it wasn't in game one for the Bulls, and that was great to see. We're going to go ahead and take another break, and when we come back, we got our guy Tim Cato, who's going to join us, man. We're going to go around the league after this.
Hit it, Dave. Ray! New vehicles in store at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. This is your chance to score a great deal at the Drive into Fall event. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram vehicles. And right now, you can get 0% financing for up to 72 months. That's a long time. Available on all new models. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000 with a friendly team and brand experts. The team at Ray CDJR has helped is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. And with Ray's Price Promise, you can shop confidently that there will be no add-ons or hidden fees ever. The price you see is the price you pay. It is just that simple. So go check out our partner today to shop one of Chicago area's largest inventories to find the right new vehicle for you. For more information, visit Ray CDJR on Route 12 in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
With the go guy leave. What time is it?
Game time? Hoot.
Oh, double up, but he got it with the
Game
layup.
time? Hoot.
Zone deals is why I love Game Time, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, those exclusive discounts, man. They just have so many of them, and Zone Deals is where you get them, man, because Game Time chooses the seat. And guess what? You're going to save money. That is awesome stuff. And you can do that during the entire NBA season. You know the fees are included. When you're seeing everything, y'all, you will know what you're paying up front. No surprise fees at checkout. They got zone deals. They got the seat views. They got the lowest price guarantee. And they got that Game Time ticket coverage, which is the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. It's awesome. So take that guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase.
Terms apply.
Ah, yes. I love it very much. Tap ticket and go. Download the Game Time app today because what a go leave. Once again, what time is it?
Game time. Hoot.
Back on CHGO Bulls, Big Dave, Will the Go Gottlieb. It is time to go back to the well. Back to the Go Talk hotline. He is so generous today, Will Go Gottlieb. Allowing everybody to use that Go Talk hotline presented by Michelob Ultra. We got our guy, national NBA writer for All City, and the hair is always on point as well, ladies and gentlemen. He is our guy, Tim Cato. Welcome to the show, Tim, man. Welcome to the show.
Big Dave, Will, good to see you guys. I got it cut just a few hours ago, so it better be looking good, the hair right now.
They did their job, sir. I hope you tipped them well. They did their job. Good job with that, man.
Every single time. Single time.
Yes, sir. We heard you had something for us.
Yeah. Let me just start off by saying this might, unless I'm just blanking, like popping on here for the first time. I'm doing national NBA coverage for All City, which means I'm doing national NBA coverage for CHGO for you guys. I'm going to be on here every couple weeks, something like that, be popping on, down to talk about anything around the league, down to talk about the Bulls. I have not yet watched the game from last night, but I have one stat. I've checked out the stats. It's on my list. I'm going to get to the game. There was a lot of games last night, and I was, on site, on location in Dallas. 50% of Detroit's shots came at the rim, 48 to be precise. So I haven't watched it back, and quite frankly, I think the explanation is just you're not going to have a great rim defense when it's Vooch back there. When you only have really 2+ defenders in the starting five, and Okoro and Buzelis. But I saw that stat, it jumped out at me. How did that actually happen last night? What was up with that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think Vooch defended pretty well for his standards. Like, he was aggressive. The problem is the Pistons, one, they don't take any threes. They just don't, especially without Malik Beasley and Dennis Schroeder, who I think they really miss just dribble penetration, getting downhill and creating those shots. They just have a bunch of guys that are just trying to barrel their way into the paint. Yeah. And they did that. The Bulls don't have guys that are going to be blocking a ton of shots. They did have 8 last night, which was pretty good for them. But yeah, I mean, you have Asar Thompson, who's just going to drive, Ron Holland, who's just going to drive. Cade Cunningham was just putting his head down and going to the basket. I do think that's going to be a problem, especially against teams that are more willing to shoot threes, because not only are you more worried about the opposing three-point shooters, you're spacing out, but then you've got to get back out to them when they do drive. If you don't have any resistance at the point of attack, that's going to be something where not only are you hemorrhaging points at the rim, it's also going to be a concern from the corners. So that's definitely something I've got my eye on. I think the Pistons are just a particularly tough matchup for them, but I saw that too, and I was like, wow, they really need to clean that up. I mean, that was the whole point of bringing in Okoro, was to try to make more resistance there.
But I think also not having Zach Collins out there and him being injured was definitely a big part of that too, because Jalen Smith didn't have a great game for the Bulls. I don't even remember him hitting a shot. But, yeah, when Zach gets back, I think you'll see it be a little bit better. But, Tim, I promise you, it's going to be something that they're going to be dealing with all season long is that interior defense and some exterior defense as well. The Bulls are not going to be a great defensive team, even though they were solid against the Pistons in that game. But interior-wise, like Vooch has never been that guy, and not having, your presence in a guy like Zach Collins, they're gonna get that percentage.
Yeah, and like 24 shots in the paint outside of the restricted area, that's good. That's sometimes it depends on the type of shots you're allowing, but pushing a lot of those layups into the floater zone, that's a good thing. Problem was it was still 43 shots at the rim.
Yeah, they were.
Detroit didn't convert them that well, but that's going to be a problem going forward if it's the 43. That's like the 100th percentile in the NBA in terms of how many rim shots you're going to see in a game. So I haven't watched yet. I will next time. I will have 3 or 4 games under my belt. I am just going to say right now, I'm hoping not to see that in the games to come. That's not a math way that this is going to work out for Chicago to keep doing that.
But luckily, the only number that matters today for us is 1-0, and we will take that one right there. So that's all we got.
Absolutely.
So we mentioned your writing, sir, and let's get into your newest article that you have written about the FBI sports gambling scene that has gone on. Just a quick rundown of it. As of now, there have been over 30 arrests made. Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones have been arrested. The sports gambling investigation is called Operation Nothing But Net, and the poker investigation is called Operation Royal Flush. Now,
unserious society.
Super unserious society.
Just absurd.
Now, Tim, full disclosure, I'm not a gambling person. I don't speak the lingo like that, but I do know what bad is, and I do know what trouble is, and this seems not good at all, man. So can you give your breakdown about what's happening and what's next to come, in your opinion?
Yeah, so Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are on leave from their teams, according to the NBA. And so the immediate next step is just we kind of wait and see what happens. I would say I'm still reading through the affidavits and trying to figure everything out. There was a press conference this morning that I checked out, but that was compared to the affidavits, just very, it's a press conference. It doesn't have, just meticulous written details. So I'm still working through those. But, my first question when this news broke, when I was listening and reading it and trying to get a sense of it is there any connection between these cases? Because Damon Jones, who played in the NBA for 8 years and then was an assistant for the Cleveland Cavaliers for 3 years. He is apparently involved in both of these schemes. And so that is other than the fact that all these people are in the NBA, that is the obvious connection between these two cases. One of them is like a Mission Impossible style, like poker fraud using, contacts with cameras in them and glasses and like a guy on the outside, like radio infoing back in. That's what Chauncey Billups is alleged to have taken part in. And then the other one is Terry Rozier. His is much closer to the situation we saw last year with Jontay Porter, who was also mentioned in these affidavits, actually in a really sad way, in terms of, emotions coming from this. Maybe not emotions, but in terms of like, do I feel bad in any instances? Jontay Porter, according to these affidavits, was basically threatened to be involved because he was so in debt to collectors because of gambling. That is a really sad thing. But I would say what is most interesting to me right now is the question of, was Chauncey Billups involved also in leaking inside information? Because the FBI has not come out and said explicitly that he was, or explicitly accused him of that. But from what I'm seeing from the affidavits, there's at least some questions posed, whether some idea of like lineups of players, like games basically that, Portland was going to go into tanking and not play starters. Did that information get out? What I will say is that information gets out all the time. I remember covering Mavericks Clippers in 2021. So this was the year after the bubble. The Mavericks started Boban Marjanovic in game 6. It was a Hail Mary play. Kristaps wasn't really working. He was very limited. And I knew about that morning, and then I had this whole like ethical dilemma of, do I report on a lineup change that is clearly known because the information got to me, but I don't want to be someone who, I don't, as a reporter, want to have any impact or even be perceived to have any impact on the game to come. And then you get to the pregame press conference with Ty Lue for that game, and he's like, yeah, I think the Mavericks are going to start Boban Marjanovic. So what I will say is lineup information isn't that crazy to be out. Now, it is very illegal to go leak it to someone with the purpose of trying to make money off it, to leak it to someone who is a gambler. And then once you breach that seal, if that is proven, if that's alleged, which right now, like I said, I don't even believe this has really been alleged by the FBI. There is just some indication that this might be the case. If that's alleged, if that's proven, all of a sudden you're in a very difficult place of integrity, where if a coach is willing to leak information to gamblers about what might happen in terms of lineups, who's playing, all of a sudden this guy is in total control of everything throughout a game. We have seen coaches, softly tank games for the purpose of their franchise. It's a slippery slope to think that all of a sudden the integrity of whether a coach could influence a game for third-party interests, that's a really serious question. So we're nowhere close to that right now, but this is my big picture, broad stance, broad takeaways from what I'm seeing right now. And like I said, I don't even feel like I am fully up to date on it. I still need to finish reading all these affidavits and really familiarize myself. But yeah, this is big, major, fascinating news. And, certainly not the first time we've seen something like this. Like I said, Jonte Porter just last year was suspended for life from the NBA. But it is another saga that comes, maybe not directly related to any of the NBA's own forays into really embracing gambling and sports gambling companies, but certainly something that stands out even more because of the way the NBA has embraced it.
I'm just curious, the NBA has really partnered up with a lot of these gambling companies. They're making it more accessible than ever. They're going to implement it into, I think, broadcast on NBA League Pass, if I recall correctly. What do they do about this? I mean, this is more just your opinion type of question, because I think we're, to your point, too far away to really know what type of hammer comes down on this. But there's been a lot of these instances. At the same time, there is so much money going back and forth with the NBA and these gambling companies. Is this just inevitability with that, or is there something the NBA can do to try to curb this from happening? Because I mean, you're getting down a road of some really nefarious stuff between people leaking lineups or telling that's that completely soils the product, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I would love to know what the NBA is thinking about that right now. Certainly, I would like to think that NBA players right now are realizing that prop bets, especially through legal means, and there is an argument to be made that legalized sports betting makes this stuff a lot easier to figure out because they are on legalized, regulated platforms. And thus, anytime there's irregularities in terms of huge prop bets, in unusual ways that can be tracked and spotted, I would like to think that, it only takes a couple of these stories for NBA players to kind of wise up and realize this is not something they can even consider doing. That's why I think the Chauncey Billups part of it all is potentially far more damning to me, because it goes from a player to somebody in a position of leadership and authority, and that is where this could get very tricky, very difficult for the NBA if that is alleged and if that is proven.
You can read more about that in Tim Cato's article. It's out right now, allchgo.com. He dives into it, has some awesome things to say. You're a great writer, sir. I just want to say that on the personal level. You are really straight up a great writer.
I've got some real exciting stuff coming down there.
Yeah,
not gambling related, just some fun features.
Just some exciting. Okay. Out there, so. Yes, sir. Thank you for clarifying. Appreciate that. Before we get out of here, have to talk to you about Wemby. You were in the house for that game.
Yeah.
You got to see that. You got to watch Victor Wembanyama, 40 points, 15 rebounds, 15 to 21 from the field, 71% is what, 15 to 21 shooting, 71% from the field. What was that like watching that? Because it seemed like man among boys, just sitting there watching that on the TV screen.
I mean, I think it's even something more than that. It's like something supernatural among natural men and natural humans. I mean, it's just wild Like, this guy breaks my brain, probably, surely everybody's brains, in terms of he does basketball things that I have never seen before. I've seen alley-oops. I have not seen alley-oops completed in the way that Victor Wembanyama can finish an alley-oop, the way that he can step through, the way that he can take 2 steps and reverse dunk with a pump in the middle. Like, this stuff is just nutty. It's completely nutty. There was a play where Derek Lively, the ball kind of scattered out to him, and he's right under the basket, or like a couple steps away from the basket. And Victor Wembanyama is looking towards the baseline as Derek Lively goes up for a jump hook. And Wembanyama just turns and spikes it. And then you may have seen this sequence. He goes down and hits a 4-point play on the other end. I think what's so crazy to me is something I focused on in the preseason, a trend that we're going to we've been seeing, but I kind of focused on the double big lineups and how much that is becoming a trend in the NBA. We saw what Houston did, one of the tallest, I think the tallest starting lineup on opening day we've ever seen. And Dallas obviously has leaned heavily into that. Daniel Gafford wasn't available, and Derek Lively got into foul trouble, so they did not play as much double big as they probably began the game planning to. But if you're playing these huge lineups, Cooper Flagg was their point guard yesterday for the Mavericks. If you're playing these huge lineups and Victor is still just taller, just like above, like he rises above even the tallest lineup you can put out there, maybe in some ways it's a reaction to him. I think it's not, strictly a reaction to him, but maybe even that many big men isn't going to be a solution. Maybe this guy is just on his way to, becoming the god of the game, as a very famous Messi call was made about Messi. He is on his way to becoming something that is just unlike anything we've ever seen.
He absolutely has arrived. And, something I always say about like the small ball era was like the point of that was to get as much skill on the floor as possible. And they were putting skill over size. And now you're in a point where you're playing skill with size. And you're talking about a guy who's even got more size than anybody else and just as much skill, if not more. I mean, he is just looking like it's just going to be incredible to watch. But I'm curious about Cooper and your thoughts on his debut. Obviously, didn't score the ball very well, had the missed alley-oop on his first possession, which is kind of a weird way to start things, but certainly putting the ball in his hands as a rookie, as a non-natural point guard, to make him the starting day opening point guard, I thought was a pretty cool and interesting decision. What have you seen from him so far in preseason and just kind of expectations based on last night?
I think everything in Dallas kind of revolves around what Cooper can do for them, which is a weird situation to be in, where he comes into this very established veteran team that has expectations to win. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is going to be out at least half the season. I do think he comes back at some point this year. But Cooper is being asked on a team that just doesn't have a lot of creativity, doesn't have a lot of playmaking. They have good passers. Cooper Flagg, in fact, is a good passer. But basically, if he's playing point guard, you're not playing with a point guard. And in the modern NBA, point guard is a skill set. It's not a position. You either choose to put point guard skills on the floor or you choose to go without it. And one example is Dallas doesn't have anybody who can beat their man and draw a double team. They have players who can drive and get near the rim and finish over. Cooper Flagg is someone who he's not going to blow past his man, but he can certainly drive on people and finish through contact. Najee Marshall has an amazing floater game. There are players who can drive, but there are not players who really force defenses to crash and to collapse, thus freeing, an open shooter in the corner, and you pass to him and maybe the rotations are good, but then it starts a swing. And that's what Dallas is really missing right now. So Cooper Flagg playing point guard, I think in terms of its development, it is super interesting. It's not what his skill set is right now. Maybe it's not ever what his skill set is going to be. It's interesting. It's just right now I'm looking at the Mavericks roster and I'm saying the same thing I said all summer on DLLS. I was as I was on the show all summer. I just don't think this collection of players fits together all that well right now. But it's also tough going up against Wemby for all the reasons we just said. He is an outlier in all those ways. So maybe it's a hefty dash of that as well. We'll see how Dallas and Cooper Flagg respond. They play Washington on Friday, so that's probably a pretty good reset game right there.
Good get right game coming up for him, man. Before you get out of here, anything else you saw yesterday or even from the doubleheader we saw on NBA on NBC that surprised you, excited you, that just kind of stuck in your mind?
Stephon Castle really stood out to me in the game from last night. That guy he's the type of guy who drives through a gap where you think the help defense is going to get the ball out of there. It's like there's no way he's going to like go past this guy, biting down to try to deny a lane, and then all of a sudden he's just threw it on the other side with the ball still in his hands. Like that guy is very good. Kind of the inverse of what we saw from Reed Sheppard, where when Reed Sheppard has the ball in his hands, you have no confidence he can get to a spot comfortably. Stephon Castle absolutely has that. But yeah, stay tuned. I've got some number like winners and losers coming on Monday from the opening week of the NBA. All diehards here at CHGO. That's gonna go right to the All CHGO feed, right to the website. So stay tuned for that. We'll see how many. I'm feeling like 6 winners, 3 losers. Like 2-to-1 ratio for positive to negative. But I'm going to be watching games the rest of the night, tomorrow, over the weekend, and really trying to catch up, Chicago included. If I notice anything from Chicago, I'm going to be sure to work them in to this piece to come.
We appreciate that, man. And Sean put the article in the chat, so everybody in the chat, make sure you click on that, read that article, and like Tim said, much more to come from him. Appreciate you coming on the show, man. Great first visit. I got Matt Peck. He was bummed he couldn't be here to talk to you, but he will be here next time, man. Thanks for joining us.
He's ducking me.
That's right. He don't want the smoke. Oh, but tell I got Mark Stein. We said what's up. We love Mark Stein. Tell we said what's up, man. Thanks for coming on, Tim.
Absolutely. All right. Talk to you guys soon.
My man, that is our guy, Tim Cato, via the GOAT Talk hotline presented by Michelob Ultra. Wemby is ridiculous, sir. A figment of our basketball imaginations was the best call.
He's like a
of the night from that. That was the best call when he said that, dog.
He's awesome.
A cosmic dream.
I can't even process Wemby wearing clothes. Like him walking in with just jeans on was blowing my mind. Because it seems like it's like 6 feet 11 inches of jean only. It's an absurd amount of denim on one single person.
Like
I hadn't thought about that, but it's a good take.
I have. It's a pretty good take, man. Not bad. Not bad. Make sure y'all hitting the like button for sure for our guy Sean Anderson and these amazing takes that he's got.
We got a super chat.
Leave just being amazing. Go
ahead.
We got
a super chat.
Oh, super chat. Let's get to it.
David Lithgow, $8 super chat. I don't know. I think this is Australian money, so it might not be a direct conversion, but around $8. Baby. Thank you, David. Giddy was poor yesterday. That's the beauty of all of this. That's his floor. Love having you. Tragic's around again for the 6th seed this year.
Shout out to David. Always defending his guy, Giddy. But I think that's a good transition into our next topic, Dave, which is preparing for Saturday's game against the Orlando Magic.
Yes.
Another really physical team, another team that's going to test the Bulls with their defense. But, yeah, I mean, I thought Giddy played well. I don't think he played terribly. I don't think it was his best game by any means. But 11 assists. I mean, he had a couple of bad turnovers.
Yeah, six.
That's going to happen when you are as aggressive as he is, passing the ball and getting the ball up ahead. But yeah, I think he just needs to continue to find the balance of like being aggressive while also taking care of the ball a little bit more because the margins are just so important for this team.
Yeah.
1 or 2 extra turnovers. And you saw it last night. The Bulls won the challenge, but like if that turnover stands, the Bulls may not win that game. Yeah. So I think that's just an example of how each of these things over the course of a game, those build. And yeah, he's going to need to be better at that going forward against a really good Magic team that is just loaded with perimeter physical defenders.
Yeah, beat the Miami Heat 125-121. Paolo Banchero led the way, 24 points, 11 rebounds. Franz Wagner, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. And the newly acquired Desmond Bane, 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists for him. I think, for me, that's the biggest stat line. I know what Paolo's going to do. It's not like I'm saying don't know what Desmond's going to do. But being in a new situation, you don't know how it's going to, click, how it's going to work. He clearly has to be the 3, and he was the 3, you know what I mean, for that guy, for that team, man. One thing that worries me, going into this matchup, several, because Orlando's awesome, but that backcourt matchup really kind of concerns me. because we just talked about Giddey, you know what I'm saying, with the ball handling and the turnovers, him just barreling his head and running in there. Orlando's going to be kind of prepared for that kind of offense, and I think Detroit was to some extent. This is why you saw 6 turnovers from a guy like Josh Giddey. And with Trey Jones, it just makes me wonder about the size, because you've got Suggs, who also had a really solid game. He got 14 points. You know Suggs is a dog. You know how he rolls. You know how he does it. But then you combine that with Desmond Bane, who is also a really, really solid defender. So how do you see that kind of matchup there, Goat, in that backcourt, and how Billy can attack it in a way that helps the Bulls?
Yeah, the Magic are just such an interestingly constructed team. They've got guys that protect the rim. Wendell, I think, not somebody who's known as like an elite rim protector,
9 points.
but they're just so big across the board, and they're so physical and they're so fast that they can keep teams out of the paint. They do have Goga Bitadze, who I think is a really good rim protector. They have Jonathan Isaac, who's one of the best like per minute rim protectors. He just can't play very much. But like even Tyus Jones, Trey's older brother, Anthony Black, really good defenders off the bench. So they're a team that's going to make it very difficult to like get that dribble penetration. And that's why the emphasis on pace that Matt was talking about in his plus minus is so important. Like they are going to have to get up the floor quickly so that they're not playing against a set defense. They are going to have to continue to move the ball, to back cut, to find lanes where they can get into the paint, because that's really how all their offense starts and how they're able to generate things. So I find this to be a very challenging matchup. They're going to have to also, I think, be very, just consistent defensively to not give Paolo 12 free throw attempts as he got last night. Like they're going to have to keep them off the line. They're going to have to compete against them in the paint, because this is another team that's not going to shoot a ton of threes.
Right.
So having those offensive rebounds, winning the battle on the turnovers, winning the battle on the free throw attempts, like all that stuff is going to really add up to where, you're not going to have like the best dribble penetration. You're not going to have the best, volume 3-point shooting,
right, but
can you beat them on all these other things that allow you to then win the math battle?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like it's going to muck it up is kind of what it's going to be for both of those teams when they play each other. Poetic that it's in Orlando in a bunch of swampland down there, because that's what it's kind of going to be in that game for them. And I think the Bulls showed in that first game that they can play that way. And it works for them playing that way, especially not having all of their guys back out there. Then you have to rely on what you kind of have, and that toughness and that physicality is what they relied on in Detroit, and just coming out and jumping on them from the beginning. I think that will also help, because Orlando will be on a back-to-back. They're playing Atlanta on Friday. So maybe, playing Atlanta gets a little physical, gets a little more tough.
Versus you have 2 days off.
Correct, man. So the Bulls coming in a little more rested, a little more ready to go. And hopefully that they try to take the Bulls not as seriously. And they look at them like, oh, we've been beating them all this time. You know what I mean? These past few years, we know what to expect. No, they're coming in with a different mindset and a different kind of toughness that I really did enjoy watching the Bulls play with, that I hadn't seen them play with before. Because it wasn't just toughness in the sense of we're just going to be tough. It was calculated. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was strategic. And that's the way you do it. And when you do it that kind of way, things kind of fall in your way. You start getting certain calls from the officials, and we definitely saw that from the Bulls. I thought the game was definitely won at the free throw line. The Bulls did a great job getting to the free throw line. And when the Pistons got there, they did not knock them down. They've never really been a great free throw shooting team, but it really showed yesterday. So I expect the game kind of what I saw with the Detroit Pistons. But Desmond Bane, man, like that is going to be an absolute problem, bro.
And like, how do you match up? It's never so simple as like my one guy against your one guy.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's a one-on-one battle. Like the Bulls are a team that needs to defend as a group. They're a team that needs to pack the paint and take guys driving lanes away and force them into contested jump shots. Mm-hmm. But like you think about these matchups, it's like, okay, you've got Okoro. He's probably going to start on Banchero, I would guess.
I would guess, yeah.
Because like he's the biggest, most physical defender that they have.
Yeah.
But he's given up like 5 or 6 inches of height, and probably like 30, 40 pounds. Banchero's huge.
He's not small.
And so then you've got Trey, you've got who else is going to be out there starting? Matas. Maybe Matas is on Banchero and Okoro goes on Franz Wagner. Like who's guarding Bane? Where are you putting Giddey? How do you hide Trey Jones? And obviously not a guy that you really need to like hide per se, but like he's so much smaller than Bane. He's so much smaller than Suggs. It's going to have to be a group effort for them. And I think you can't leave Bane, but can you really sort of take the paint away as much as possible, really sink in and try to cut off those driving lanes to force Paolo and Franz into tough jump shots? I think that's probably their best bet. But yeah, you can't turn over the ball and like allow them to get in transition. That's like easy points. You have to make them work for everything. And I think just packing the paint and like keeping them away from the basket as much as possible, tall task, but I think that's probably their best bet.
Yeah, great point, Goat. We're going to wrap it up there. We are off tomorrow, but we will be back for the game, the Bulls and the Orlando Magic. Sean?
Real quick, just plus minus per 100 possessions on court, Isaac Okoro 6th in the NBA. Does that mean anything or no?
Not after one game, but it's
yeah,
better than him being worse.
Last, yeah, correct. Better than that.
We'll take it, but we'll have to see.
Plus 17's not bad. I know it's plus minus, but it's not bad.
It's not a bad thing. He's in the top 10. We'll take it. Yeah, but join us as we have a post-game show for you after the Bulls and the Magic. And since it's a road game, we will be graced by the presence of Will the GOAT Gottlieb. Hit the like button on your way out. Thank y'all for joining us. Shout out to Tim Cato. Shout out to main man Matt Peck. Big shout out to the man on the ones and twos. That is Sean Anderson back there holding it down on production. Hit the like button. Will_Gottlieb. Read all the things he's doing at allchgo.com. I am Big Dave, BAWL. Bow. Sports is where you can follow me at. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful night. We'll see y'all on Saturday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.